Evening to you and welcome to News 360. It's coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adisowe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Ford.
And my name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paid.
Woes of microfinance company ASN Finance deepen as hundreds of customers besiege premises to demand refund of their investments.
Public hospitals nationwide lose 200 pharmacists in 2 years, prompting possible shortage of personnel.
President Akufo-Addo demands an end to all forms of state-sponsored attacks on journalists across the world.
And in sports this evening, Asante Kotoko denies news of resignation of its head coach, Kwesi Fabian.
And on the foreign front this evening, President Donald Trump denies using money from his campaign to silence adult film actor over an affair he says never happened. We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360. This bulletin is streaming live all across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. You could also watch us on DSTV channel 279. On to our very first story this evening. Some customers of ASN Financial Service say they're losing confidence in the central bank over the seeming loss of control over the financial system. The customers who have been investing with the company for some time now are angry over the delays by management of the Savings and Loans Company to pay their hard-earned investments. Grace Hamwa-Asare has the following report.
Management of ASN Financial Services April last year met over 1,000 clients to explain reasons why customers cannot have access to monies they invested in the company, and subsequently pleaded with them to wait for a year before their investments are refunded. According to the customers, the set date after a year's wait was April 30, 2018. Some customers arrived at the Medina Fastung office and the place was under lock and key.
I am currently here at the head office of ASN Financial Services located at Medina Firestone. The place looks filthy and deserted. Looks like there's not been any form of activity for some days or even months now, looking at the gravity of the filth. Walking up the stairs, I can see a notice which is informing customers that the financial service is breaking for the Christmas holidays from the 22nd of December to the 2nd of January 2018. The note continues that effective 2nd January 2017, the head office is relocating to Adabraka.
Nana Edunipa, one of the customers who invested over 5,000 cedis and was due to collect around 6,600, explained he blames the regulator for the crisis.
Why should Ghana government allow everybody to come and operate that I'm operating and so and so? They advertise this in radio and everything so that we are sure that it is a true investment. You see, old man like me, struggling and get 5,000, you say you pay me 32% for a year. Look where I am now.
This is not the first time customers have had to endure delays in the release of their investment owing to some irregularities. Last year, customers of the defunct DKM Microfinance were unable to retrieve huge sums of monies they invested in the company. George Opoku, another frustrated customer, shared his story.
They give us up to the ending of April, so I'm here to check up and see whether I can get my money back. I saw that they've closed the place, and then I saw the number. I called them. They said they are now relocated at Adabraka. So I'm going there to find out whether it's true.
After speaking with a contact on the notice, the news team got to the Adabraka branch of ASN. The office was opened, doing business. Managing Director of ASN, who spoke off camera, admitted that the institution was facing some financial crisis but assured customers of the safety of their funds. The customers say they will not relent in using any legal means to retrieve their funds.
I will find a way of getting my money back, because if they are really exist, or the company they are using another name, I will really find out the new name they are using. Because they've given my statement, I know I have money with them, so I have to get it back. Any means, by going to the court, any means of getting the money, I have to see advice, either lawyer or someone, to be able to get my money back.
The management of ASN are not sure of the payment plan for customers, and so till then, customers will have no option than to wait for a refund.
So it's clear that such incidents go to just buttress the feelings of insecurity that many Ghanaians have in the financial sector, and some measures taken by the Bank of Ghana to regulate those who have been operating without a license, as many are still operating without a license and being unregistered but are operating as though they were registered. Now, in 2015, the Bank of Ghana increased the minimum paid-up capital requirement for obtaining Tier 2 and Tier 3 microfinance institution licenses from 1 million cedis to 2 million cedis. Now, the increase was part of a review to strengthen the institutions in delivering their financial integration to the unbanked segment of the market. And as I said earlier, such incidents is causing many to actually, in fact, enter those who are unbanked because they are not trusting the financial sector. Now, out of 347 licensed companies, only 319 were in good standing, having fully complied with the regulations of the Bank of Ghana, when some others were unregistered, which were still operating. Now, there are currently about 50 microfinance companies that are, in fact, struggling to meet their liabilities to depositors. On March 9, 2018, that's following the challenges where some customers of 4 microfinance companies were not able to access their savings, the Bank of Ghana released a list of 319 licensed institutions in general compliance with its guidelines. And out of 347 companies, only these 319 were in fact in good standing with the BOG, having fully complied with the regulations put across by the Bank of Ghana. March 12, 2018, the BOG dragged the directors of 30 microfinance companies to YOCO, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, for investigations and prosecution for alleged embezzlement and fraud. Such incidents just simply go to buttress and to put forward the reason why many are losing trust in the more traditional financial sector and are in fact going to invest their money, as we put across in our bulletins yesterday, in fact, in quite unfamiliar and strange places because they're losing trust in the financial sector. Alfred?
Clear point. Yeah, absolutely. Now, away from what's happening in the financial sector, many Ghanaians have described as a waste of state resources the frequent renovation of government bungalows. They are of the view expenditure on renovation work constitutes a burden on the public purse. But are the criticisms justified? Evelyn Tengma has more in the following report.
Accommodation plays an important role in the lives of people. For public servants, particularly presidents of the Republic, ministers, speakers of parliament and other Article 71 office holders, it is even more crucial. These categories of public servants are accommodated by the state and given all the incentives to make them have a free mind to work efficiently. But a cross-section of the public have argued that the privilege is being abused by some, citing former Speaker Ebenezer Sechi Hughes, who was alleged to have taken away almost every item in his official residence, including curtains, cooking utensils and napkins bought by the state. Also, anytime there is a change of government, renovation work usually has to be done before the new government officials, being it ministers or Speaker of Parliament, moves in, and this has raised cost concerns. Many have argued that such frequent residential renovations of public servants and higher authority are wasteful, as it has become a trend. But political scientist Dr. Bosman Asari disagrees.
We should expect that something must be done to the taste of the new person. Although it's taking a toll on our resources as a country, I still think it's something which is very, very important.
One of such renovations that has gained public attention is the Speaker of Parliament's official residence. Renovation work has been ongoing for over a year, and we ask why.
Just when the process had gone through procurement and all those things and work was almost done, the entire wall collapsed. And so that had to also go through the entire process again for approvals to be sought and given for the work to be done. Again, when that was done, parts of the roof also got into trouble. All these little problems have led to the delay.
Kate Addo, who is the Acting Director of Public Affairs at Ghana's Parliament, added the Speaker is likely to move into his official residence either by end of May or early June this year.
Bathrooms and stuff like that will have to be taken a look at. Soft finishing have been moved into the residence.
In the meantime, as the Speaker continues to live in his private residence, he is given what Parliament describes as a stipend.
Recommendations in the Idu-Boadun Presidential Committee on Emoluments of Article 71 holders. The Speaker is not entitled to that advance. He is not giving that advance. The plan is that the Speaker should be able to move into residence when he's sworn into office. If in the eventuality that he doesn't, as was the case of this Speaker, he's given a stipend towards his accommodation. And that's what happened in the case of the Speaker.
Even the President's official residence inside the Jubilee House had to be renovated by the current government at yet to be disclosed amount. On the other hand, the Vice President's official residence has also for the past 3 years been going through construction after work on the site halted. Political scientists Dr. Bosman Asare and Professor Edward Jampo say even though these renovations and constructions are necessary, it should be done bearing in mind the country's resources.
We must agree on the basic things that would have to be fitted into such renovated apartments and all that, so that in doing so we are mindful of our own limited resources as a developing nation. And then also the practice where you have somebody vacating his residence, practically stealing fixtures and fittings and even cooking utensils. I think it's so barbaric and it's so unacceptable.
Let's make sure we do it in such a way that at the end of the day, the nation will get value for money. It shouldn't be like something some people are going to benefit in a manner in certain deals or certain shady deals.
Acting Managing Director of Architectural and Engineering Services Limited, Robert Abugri, says renovation of a bungalow can take over a year depending on the scope of work.
If there are cracks and it all has to do with the foundation, and you have to support the structure from underground, that is called underpinning. It's not something you can just do within a day. You have to be doing it stage by stage. Work here, leave that place, move to the next place, and work again. Sometimes rehabilitation works even take longer than some new constructions.
He could, however, not give the amount involved in such exercises, but added a house should take at least 5 years before being renovated. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Accra.
Okay, so this issue is one rather that has caught a lot of public reaction to it. Richard Asante is a government spokesperson on infrastructure. He's joining me in the studio. Thank you for your time. Good evening to you, Richard.
Good evening.
Now, there are many renovations we've seen going on now. Some of them you can understand that if it's about the furniture and fittings or the internals, it's fine. But some renovations go to the structural design of the building. Are those kind of renovations necessary?
Thank you very much. I think as a country, it is high time we embrace a culture of maintenance. Because over the period, we know what it has happened in terms of the cost of it to the national kitty, and also the sort of accident that we witnessed over the period, particularly even when you look at the private sector and other governmental institutions. You remember a couple of years ago, all this country were literally thrown into mourn and we literally mourned at each other and also wept because people lost their life with this Melcon disaster.
Right.
If people have taken in the attitude of wanting to look at the various cracks and other difficulties that the building was traveling,
I get the point.
I get to the point.
See, yes.
These issues wouldn't have occurred. Same can be applied by government structures and state facilities. Like we did indicate, all these facilities or structures are not for individuals, they are for the state. If effort are being made to renovate them, to put them in a shape where they can last, I think we need to applaud and appreciate same.
So
because
what you're saying is
over the period, we talked about a culture of maintenance, The culture of maintenance requires that at every given situation, we make sure that the structure and integrity of every state property,
so are you saying that the occupants of these
something
buildings,
that can be vouched for?
The occupants of these buildings in the previous administration, as has always been the case, do not maintain those facilities, and that's why every other administration, I mean, in your case, when you're in power now, you will have to sometimes change the structural design.
I don't know of a structural design of any building that has been changed. I mean, but what I know over the period is that right from the moment that Ghanaians became aware that we ought to be proactive and take the needed steps to make sure that structures or state properties are renovated, that we maintain it and make sure that at least at every given situation we can be a place that people can stay in without being scared of their lives. From that moment, every government has taken the initiative to try and renovate one state structure or the other. Because we see a change in government, that is why you might think that it is just happening because there's a change in government. But I know that from the previous and from all the documentary evidence that exists, from every now and then there have been one addition or one maintenance being done at one particular place or the other.
From what I get, you say the renovation is for maintenance purposes.
Of course, we need to maintain the structure, and beyond that, if the structure is not in good shape, and there are things that ought to be done to, because the point is that it's for the state. And we need not to see, just recently, I had the period of being at TDC, where a structure that was built during Dr. Nkrumah's era is going to be pulled down because the culture of maintenance, we do not apply same to that particular facility. If we're maintaining it, I'm not sure, because I've seen buildings in other parts of the world where these buildings are lasting for 100, 200 years. But because those countries, people are paying particular attention to maintaining these structures, and I think we need to look at it. Just recently, remember in the Volta region, kids died in this classroom.
I get the point.
Because these structures were not being maintained.
I get you.
So
but
this time around, we are looking at it and we are maintaining. I think we need to be applauded for that.
So let me just. It's interesting. But the vice president, where is he living now?
He's living in his own residence.
In his own apartment, his own residence. Yeah. So what's happening to the number 3 Prestige Link, where the former president was living? That residence, which was the vice president's residence, which eventually when he became president,
I think in terms of the place that the vice president is supposed to stay, we know before this government came into power, we knew of a team that was literally chaired by the then Vice President, Mr. Misata, and making sure that we put together a place for the Vice President. And that where there were issues because we knew that the contract that was awarded was 3.5 million, and later on metamorphosed into 14 million Ghana cedis.
You mean $14 million?
Dollars.
The president,
the
vice
that
president
is being looked into and all that.
So, but isn't that what's happening to that facility that you indicated cost $14 million?
But the project is not completed.
What's happening to it now?
I mean, it's not.
What's the state of that
what
facility?
I can say in terms of that, which I will defer the chunk of it for the minister, because I know in the next couple of days the minister of Western Housing is going to speak to some of these things for the general public to be aware of what is happening in most of these areas. And I don't want to take the wind out of the sail of the minister of Western Housing. In terms of that particular structure, remember there were difficulties in terms of even the pricing. That if a contract is awarded for $3.5 million and when the project has not been completed, we are being told that the project sum has jumped to $40 million.
So when is the vice president moving to the number 3 Prestige
issues have been ironed out. Until this project is completed, I'm not sure the Vice President is in a hurry to go and leave them when the project is not completed. He's okay at where he lives now, and he's continuously serving this country. And I think that when the press becomes available, when issues concerning the figures in terms of how much has been pumped into it, but Ghanaians want value for money. So that is
so now the number 3 Prestige link is empty. Nobody lives there
because the place is not ready to be occupied.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Richard Asante is the government spokesperson on infrastructure on this particular. But on MTN video report, on MTN video report, Godwin Ni Amu Adi reports on refuse that has been uncollected at La Wireless in Accra.
Panwan Junction, Apapa, La Wireless, this is where everybody comes to dump the refuse. And for some time now, they don't be coming for it. The big trucks would rather come and dump the refuse here. We want the government to come to our aid because we can't do anything in the area. The whole area is smelling bad. And this is just behind the AU village. And my name is Godwin Ni Amu.
You can also send us your video reports on WhatsApp number 055-1433-044, 055-1433-044. We'll be back shortly with some more stories in the world of business to stay.
Very good evening to you, and thanks for staying with us on News 360. Time for business. My name is Nanikria Mensah Brampa. Beginning with tonight, the Ministry of Trade and Industry says government will deliver in full its flagship One District, One Factory by 2020. Now, according to Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Ahum Kalente, 100 new factories will be operational by the deadline.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry has introduced a district implementation support team to facilitate the implementation of the One District, One Factory program. Every district in the country will have a district implementation support team. The team will, among others, consist of the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executive, Member of Parliament, the Ghana Standards Authority, the Food and Drugs Authority and the Utility Services providers. Speaking to stakeholders in Accra, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry Ahum Kalente explained that 50 businesses have been approved and are set to start operations this year. 19 of the businesses are currently being set up in the Greater Accra region.
Within the Greater Accra region, we have 50 of the 319 projects that are already shared with them. And their role now is to work directly with these 50 companies to help them achieve their dreams. Of those 50, about 19 of them have gone a little much further down the road. Some of them, they don't need financing. They've already come with either international or other sorts of financing, so we've asked the companies to engage with them, our district, to engage with them.
The Deputy Minister said funds have been secured for the program from partner banks.
Towards the end of last year, we have shared all of these businesses with a number of financial institutions that we've been working with. Those financial institutions have committed over 2.5 billion cedis towards supporting this program. So the district implementation support teams are there for a very simple process. Once the companies have got their financing in place, that is the beginning of the journey to build your business.
Ahum Kalente called on district executives and traditional leaders to support the ministry and businesses in order to fast-track the setup of the businesses. A One District, One Factory website was outdoored to enable the public and businesses to access data and interact with the ministry and the districts.
We're talking insurance now, and the Deputy Commissioner for Insurance, Michael Ando, says insurance companies should incorporate innovation into their business, as this is key for risk management. Going beyond recapitalization, he said if insurance companies take advantage of technology, the industry will remain relevant in the country.
The Pan-African Bank Insurance and Alternative Distribution Conference explored the latest innovations in insurance distribution across Africa and the world. According to experts in digital technology, unless companies innovate in insurance and banking, customer needs will not be met.
There's a lot of the Ghanaian population, a lot of the African population who are unbanked. And a lot of those unbanked people would like to have banking services or be able to better manage their financial affairs. So legislation and the regulations need to empower things that work for the customer.
Among challenges identified within the industry is the poor usage of insurance data and the low penetration of insurance in the country.
How can we incorporate digital inclusion? How can we incorporate financial literacy? How can we incorporate financial education into the kind of business models that we run? And that's the only way you're going to penetrate the population.
Deputy Commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, Michael Ando, said the Commission is still in discussions on capitalization and innovations to improve the industry.
Innovation will make it easier and less painful for people to make a claim. Innovation will make it easy for people to buy and pay for insurance. Innovation will make it easy for insurance companies to appropriately price insurance products.
Hands-on experience were shared from those who have taken innovation to market and network with senior executives from all over the continent. The theme for this year's conference is Innovate or Die. On banking and capitalization now, Cal Bank is set to meet the December 2018 deadline given by the Bank of Ghana for banks to increase their stated capital to a minimum of 400 million cedis. At a bank's AGM in Accra, shareholders passed a resolution to allow the bank to recapitalize with its income surplus in a bid to show up its capital to levels required by the central bank.
Currently the most innovative indigenous Ghanaian bank, Cal Bank, formerly Continental Acceptances Limited, and Cal Merchant Bank commenced operations in July 1990. Cal Bank received its universal banking license in 2004 and soon commenced providing specialized retail banking services. The Bank of Ghana in September 2017 issued a directive to all banks to increase their stated capital to a minimum of 400 million cedis by the end of December 2018, aimed at strengthening the sector. The directive provided 3 options for the banks to comply with the directive, which is fresh capital injection, capitalization of income surplus, and a combination of both.
As it is now, we have a stated capital of 100 million Ghana cedis. We have in excess of 275 million as at the end of last year, and as at March of this year, in excess of 310 million cedis in income surplus. Now, we passed a resolution to transfer 250 million from income surplus to share capital. That immediately takes us up to 350 million. The balance of 50 million we will make up from our profits and operations of this year.
In 2016, the bank's net profit was 7.2 million cedis, but rose to 145 million in 2017. Thus, Managing Director of the bank, Frank Braco Edu Jr., attributed to prudent cost management and enhanced operational efficiency. Frank Edu Jr. hinted plans are afoot for the deployment of agents nationwide.
Given the chance of using your telephone and walking into a bank, which one would you do? You will use your telephone. And brick and mortar is very expensive. So we have this policy of going from bricks to clicks. So we are going to have agents. Eventually we'll have over 1,000 agents all across the country. We'll give them handheld devices. These handheld devices will allow them to open a bank account for you, transfer. You can even get a loan.
The independent auditors of the bank, KPMG, were of the view proper books of account had been kept.
We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper books of account have been kept, and the consolidated and separate statements of financial position and profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account. The bank's transactions were within its powers, and the bank generally complied with the relevant provisions of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2016 at 9:30.
Cal Bank Limited continues to provide a broad range of banking and financial solutions to large corporations, small and medium-sized enterprises, public sector institutions, and retail customers through a network of 28 branches and over 100 ATMs across Ghana.
All right, so gradually the local banks are pushing to meet the minimum capital requirement. Who's next? We'll find out later on in subsequent bulletins. But there's more news on 3news.com. My name is Nanekia Mensah. But that's it for business. Alfred has more.
Thank you, Nanekia, with business. But the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, GOSPA, has expressed concern over the high rate of which pharmacists are resigning from public hospitals. Within 2 years, 200 pharmacists nationwide have resigned due to low salary levels, wrongful grading and placement on the single spine salary structure. Leadership of GOSPA is asking the Fair Wage and Salaries Commission to address the issue or risk losing more pharmacists in the public sector.
There are 700 government pharmacists nationwide working in the public sector. However, from 2016 till now, the number has reduced to 500 due to low salary levels. According to the leadership of the Government and the Hospital Pharmacists Association, GOSPA, every week, more than 10 pharmacists resign, citing distortions in their salaries. A former chairman of GOSPA, Raymond Tete, has expressed fear more pharmacists could resign in the coming months.
Every month you get your returns from the Accountant General's office and the number is dropping. So it's a clear evidence that, I mean, you can't pay salaries that cannot support the individual. You know, when it's posted to a district or posted to somewhere where he feels that he cannot survive. So he leaves.
The Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association have cited wrongful placement and grading and the single spine pay policy for the resignation. According to GOSPA, these issues have spanned for 8 years without any resolution by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. GOSPA explained the then Cabinet Subcommittee directed the Sector Minister of Finance, Tekpe, to pay the pharmacists, but the ministry failed to comply.
As far as we are concerned, the previous cabinet issued a directive to the Ministry of Finance to effect payment, you know. But strangely enough, checks were written to implement this. Strangely, Fair Wages are stepping in and said, no way. I mean, if they give 500 pharmacists this, 30,000 nurses are going to go on strike.
The Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association is disturbed. Dispensing of drugs could be affected in the districts due to the attrition rate. The Western Regional Delegate of GOSPA, Samuel Owusu, said the situation could have dire consequences on health care.
For the pharmacists, our colleagues in the university hospitals, our colleagues in the other quasi government hospitals, like VRA, Gapoha, Bank of Ghana, all the rest, they earn differently. They are earning the right level that the pharmacy should be. But for us, under the Ghana Health Service and the teaching hospitals, it is woefully poor.
Reacting to their concerns, Chief Executive of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Edward Kwapon, assured of new job re-evaluation for the pharmacists.
So if people are resigning, then it means that they are not happy with the pay policy that we are implementing. And so it tells us we have to sit up and do something about it. So yes, we are ready to do that. But the ball is now in their court to come back to us with the reworked job descriptions.
He also expressed concern about attrition rates and pledged quick resolution to the issues. Meanwhile, leadership of GOSPA has cautioned its members nationwide against any industrial unrest.
Let's turn from healthcare to the media sector as President Akufo-Addo has called on governments across the world to put an end to all forms of state-sponsored attacks on journalists. Delivering an address at the World Press Freedom Day Gala dinner in Accra, the president insisted that violence against journalists must not be tolerated anywhere in the world.
UNESCO is spearheading the 25th celebration of World Freedom Day 2018 under the theme Keeping Power in Check, Media, Justice and the Rule of Law. The issues of media and transparency of the political processes, independence and media literacy of the judiciary, and accountability of state institutions towards the public are the main focus of the celebration. President Akufo-Addo condemned violence against journalists and called on world leaders to respect freedom of expression.
I use this opportunity to call on all governments the world over to put an end to state-sponsored acts that seek to restrict the practice of journalism. When supported, the free press has the potential to quicken the development of societies. Indeed, a democracy has no place for a media that does not keep a government on its toes.
The president identified the need for training to improve journalistic standards and spoke against misinformation in the media landscape.
Deliberate misinformation campaigns, which in themselves are not new in politics or war, have now gained added currency with the proliferation of media channels. This is not only the preserve of enemy states in times of war, but has also now become a vociferous tool of political actors who aim to win public relations battles by fabricating or twisting facts and churning them out either through traditional media or new media channels as news. This is a major threat to the integrity of the news world as we have known it.
An Al Jazeera Egyptian journalist, Mahmoud Abu Zaid, also known as Shaukan, a photojournalist, has been in jail since August 2013 after being arrested by Egyptian authorities while covering a demonstration. He was awarded, in absentia, the laureate of the 2018 UNESCO Guillermo Cannon Press Freedom Prize.
Now, issues of ethics have been mitigated by media ownership and funding, thus making it difficult for investigative journalism to thrive. Panelists at the World Press Freedom Day are advocating for increased investment into investigative journalism by media owners, as well as ensuring that journalists are properly insured for safety. Here's a report by Catherine Frimpoma.
Investigative journalism is the heart of the journalism's ability to fulfill its mission of holding power to account. Those who wish to silence journalism first target investigative reporters. Day 2 of the World Press Freedom Conference in Accra focused on how best to enhance investigative reporting. Panelists bemoaned the lack of resources by media companies intent more on commercial gain. Head of Africa Desk at the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, Will Fitzgibbon, prescribed that journalists join international networks to collaborate in their investigations.
When you know that you're dealing with a sensitive domestic situation, try to enter in some kind of contact with an international organisation so that if anything does go wrong, Ghanaian Secret Service knows that they'll also be hearing from a French journalist, a British journalist, an American journalist or a South African journalist, and that if they dare touch the local Ghanaian reporter, there'll be some global consequences.
Head of West Africa BBC World Service, Oluwatoyosi Ogunseye, suggests employers set aside some funds for investigative journalism while ensuring that reporters are properly insured.
That's the beginning, and that's very lacking. And I'm going to be calling on media owners to ensure that we're ensuring the people we work with, apart from insurance, safety training. How many of us know what to do when we're kidnapped as journalists? How many of us have the necessary training when we face difficult situations? Another thing is protective gear. How many media houses have protective gear for their journalists when they do dangerous assignments? It's a tax that only media owners and also activists in the journalism space can take on.
She was, however, of the view that small efforts can yield big result stories.
Most of the time we think that investigative journalism is about when the president goes to jail or the prime minister is picked up, and that's fantastic, but I think that investigative journalism, original journalism, or quality journalism is journalism that delivers impact. And I wouldn't want us to just measure impact by the number of people that go to jail or are prosecuted. I want us to measure impact by the number of lives our journalism affects positively.
Former ad hoc attorney of Peru and board member of Transparency International, Jose Ugaz, thinks it is best if journalists do not assume the role of advocacy or civil society groups. Participants called for a continued access to global resources to further strengthen the front of investigative journalism.
We're still live here on News 360. And some other news. TV3's Thomas Khan requires $25,000 to undergo kidney transplant. Now, Thomas suffers acute kidney failure, and his survival will depend on the philanthropy of many like you.
Thomas, like many, discovered he had kidney failure after a wrong diagnosis.
The whole thing started like malaria, sort of. So I fell sick and I was admitted at the hospital, and I was wondering what kind of malaria that they keep treating and it wasn't going.
He has lived with kidney failure for the last 5 years and presently survives on the expensive procedure of dialysis 3 times a week. However, doctors say he urgently requires a kidney transplant. Maintaining a dry weight of 65 kg is key to improving his health. He has to shed some 5 kg of fluid, but Khan's kidneys won't allow him. Thomas currently weighs 70 kg.
The point is the kidneys are failed. His condition is a chronic one.
I'm hoping and praying that I get a transplant.
Kidney failure treatment without support is a death sentence. But Khan is fortunate. Family and friends are supporting. Thomas now requires help to enable him undergo a kidney transplant in India.
We raised something, but it wasn't able to undertake the transplant. So those monies were used by Thomas Khan on the dialysis. And remember, the dialysis, you have to come, I think, thrice every week.
The cost of dialysis in Ghana is killing patients battling the disease.
Even get the transplant is very, very expensive, and therefore it makes it, virtually impossible for a lot of them. At a point, you'd realize you can sell your whole mansion for the dialysis and still would have to continue. What happens after?
Media General is encouraging all well-meaning Ghanaians to assist raise $25,000 for a kidney transplant to help Khan live life and achieve his dreams and aspirations. Please pay your donations into the TV3 Social Support Fund account number 6010603927 at any Zenith Bank branch. You can also donate on mobile money number 0245 221555 or at the TV3 premises at Kanda in Accra.
So we want to say thank you to those of you who have been responding to this over the past 1 month that we put out there to help our brother and friend and colleague Thomas Khan. We here at Media General have also been doing our bit to so, and we appeal to you to continually help us do this through the various means that was announced.
Certainly. Acts of philanthropy are needed. We're still live here on News 360. We've got some sports news coming up for you shortly. Stay with us.
Hi, good evening. It's time to do sports here on News 360. My name is Yao Ofosula. We're on to our very first story, and Kumasi Asante Kotoko has dismissed reports claiming coach Parkwesi Fabian has left the club. Now, the report started building up after losses to Accra Hearts of Oak and Karela United. Kotoko are 10th place in the league, standing 6 points away from leaders Ashanti Gold, but the club is adamant that Fabian will stay. The club posted on their Twitter feed earlier today that Fabian will remain their manager and will take charge of their next game against Bichem United in the Ghana Premier League. Fabian joined Kumasi Asante Kotoko after Steve Pollack was sacked earlier this year. Now, after beating Asante Kotoko, things are looking up for Accra Hearts of Oak, but one aspect of the club structure that has often been criticised is management. In an attempt to right the wrongs at the club, the board has appointed Mark Noonan. Michael Oteje went out to meet him, and here is the report.
Hearts of Oak Chief Executive Mark Noonan is a man on an incredibly difficult mission. 18 years after the Phobians became the best team in Africa and completely dominated the local scene, the American has to recreate the success all over again. Noonan, with a rich background in sports marketing and communication, has worked in surfing, golf, and played a major part in Major League Soccer. He hopes all that experience will help him resurrect an Accra Hearts of Oak team that he says is struggling on all fronts at the moment.
We haven't made any decisions, and it's for all concerned, it's not an ideal situation when your stadium gets shut right before your season's about to start with, from what I'm told, very little notice, which is a challenge. And you want to balance. The first and most important thing is what gives our club the opportunity to win. So the competitive side, as well as what protects the players too. If they're playing on a pitch that potentially could create a career-ending injury, I don't want them to be in that type of situation.
Noonan says he has loved every bit of his time in Ghana so far and arrives at his Adabraka office every day determined to change things. Hearts have not won a league title since 2009 and are battling with a myriad of issues that Noonan says will take time to fix.
We haven't made any decisions, and it's for all concerned, it's not an ideal situation when your stadium gets shut right before your season's about to start with, from what I'm told, very little notice, which is a challenge. And you want to balance. The first and most important thing is what gives our club the opportunity to win. So the competitive side, as well as what protects the players too. If they're playing on a pitch that potentially could create a career-ending injury, I don't want them to be in that type of situation.
By the president of the Sports Rights Association of Ghana and ace sports journalist Kobna Yeboah says preparation for the biggest nights for the SWAG Awards are in place for the deserved winners to be crowned for their outstanding performances within the year. The 43rd SWAG Awards nights will be held at the Accra International Conference Center tomorrow, the 4th of May. Ghana's top sporting personalities for the year 2017-2018 will be honored at the 43rd SWAG Awards night for their contribution to the country through sports. This year's awards ceremony will honor the heroes and heroines from 49 nominees, including individuals and institutions in 21 categories drawn from 18 sporting disciplines. Speaking to TV3 Sports, the president of the Sports Rights Association of Ghana, Kobna Yeboah, said preparation towards the awards is in place to ensure a smooth and coloured event.
Preparation is on course, everything is fine, and we're looking forward to a great night. The focus is on sportsmen and women who continually hoist the flag of Ghana. So it's a very simple ceremony, but because we're inviting quite a number of guests, we've decided to provide entertainment. And one of my favorite artists, Kobna, will be entertaining the guests. We should also have some cultural display. But as I keep saying, basically, it's a very simple ceremony to honor distinguished sportsmen and women.
The event also coincides with activities of the 50th anniversary celebration of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. Well, down to the UEFA Europa League, where Arsenal, this game will mean a lot for Arsenal's season if they are able to win it. Now, they're in the semi-finals of the UEFA Europa League and are taking on Atletico Madrid at the moment. That game is still 0-0, and a lot of Arsenal fans have their fingers crossed and waiting for things to happen for their team. My name is Yao Ofosulabi, and that's how we end the sports segment. News 360 takes a break. We'll be back shortly.
Adult film actor's silence over an affair he says never happened. He admitted a tweet lawyer Michael Cohen had paid off Stormy Daniels during the campaign and was reimbursed. President Donald Trump has denied any money from his campaign was used to buy an adult film actor's silence over an affair he says never happened. He admitted in a tweet lawyer Michael Cohen had paid off Stormy Daniels during the campaign and was reimbursed. Using campaign funds could have been a violation of federal law. Earlier, his legal aide, Rudy Giuliani, had said the money was Mr. Trump's personal cash. Ms. Daniels says she had an affair with Mr. Trump in 2006. Mr. Trump's argument appears to be that the NDA was a typical action taken out by celebrities and therefore not an election-related matter. This could be crucial in determining whether the $130,000 paid to Ms. Daniels was legal.
Well, angry protests have erupted on the Yemeni island of Socotra after the United Arab Emirates deployed 4 military aircraft and more than 100 troops to the famed UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Angry protests have erupted on the Yemeni island of Socotra after the United Arab Emirates deployed 4 military aircraft and more than 100 troops to the famed UNESCO World Heritage Site. The 4 Emirati aircraft arrived illegally on the island on Wednesday in an attempt to intimidate officials from the internationally recognized government who were making a rare visit to the archipelago. Hundreds of Yemenis had come out to welcome Ahmed bin Dagr, Yemeni Prime Minister, and 10 of his ministers, and to denounce the UAE's presence on the island. You can visit our website, it's 3news.com, for some more international news. Next is entertainment news with Miriam Osei Ajiman.
Hello there and good evening. It's time to do some entertainment news on News360. Now, you recall that some time back, Shatta Wale's mom was on the news for obviously being worried about, the bad prophecies that were coming about the son. Now, Shatta Wale's mom threatened to deal with fake prophets who spelled doom for her son. To the Anglo woman, seeking spiritual help from the Volta region is the only way to silence the doomsayers. Well, so what has Madam Elsie Evelyn Agbevito Avemaga up to protect the son? We find out.
You people are not getting what I was really talking about. I went to the Volta region to pray because I took this message from the Bible that the Israelites and the Baals people were fighting, and during their fight, they consulted their maker, and he told them, go to where you were born and pray and see what your God will do for you. So they went to their land, and then they prayed, and then they defeated the people of Baal. So I went to the Volta region. That was where I was born. So I went to my roots to consult my elders there, tell them this is your grandson, Shatta Wale, and this is what is happening to him, that they should pray with me, and then they should make my son survive for me. And that was what they did for me.
I think a lot of bad eyes are following Shatta Wale.
Everybody on this earth has an enemy. So by all means, my son has an enemy. And so if a man of God or whatever he calls himself come and say that this is what will happen to him, I have to counter it. And that was what I went to the Volta region. I did for my son.
Okay, so you didn't go to do juju?
I didn't go to do juju. At all. And Shatta Wale will not allow me to go and do juju. I've been praying all the time for Shatta Wale so that he may not fall into any trap.
People believe Shatta Wale has stepped on a lot of toes, and so they're just waiting for doomsday to come for him. You think a lot of trap has been set for your son?
You see, when I started talking, I told you my boy is not a controversial boy. He faces what is just. Whether you are tall, short, or whatever, he will tell you, this is not good, don't do it. That is how Shatta Wale is. He's not a controversial guy, no. For that one, I won't buy it. But I want to tell all the Ghanaians that the way they see Shatta Wale, I am not seeing him like that. Because we are all in this country. If nothing happens to any of us, I am telling you very soon, I am the mother of Shatta Wale. I am telling the whole Ghana, very soon, the universities will be studying the song of Shatta Wale. I bet, and I know my God is going to do it for him.
Okay, so that's what you're praying for now.
That is what I am praying for. They will study the music of Shatta Wale in their universities.
Okay, so quickly before we go, what is the most heartbreaking comment you've heard about your son?
It's when he had that trouble with how do they call them?
Chatterhouse.
Chatterhouse. I didn't expect that thing so quickly like that, but it just happened like that. It broke my heart, but I prayed over it.
I love that. Shout out to man Gringo. Yes, Gringo, Ringo. Wow, hey, Mandingo. Oh, yeah.
Well, very interesting revelations. They're very, of course, concerned mother. But I'm just thinking, in some very few days or months to come, you can enroll for a Shatta Wale course. I'm wondering which campus will start that program first.
I don't know what
Maybe the University of Ghana or
maybe saying his artistry.
KUST.
She's a very hopeful mother, though. It's great. I mean, ahead of Mother's Day, very supportive mother.
Definitely.
Well, anyway, but Sarkodie was invited by Harvard University sometime last year, I think. So let's see.
Well,
but
I don't know about studying.
In the end, we want to say thank you for spending your 60 minutes with us on News 360. My name is Alfred Okonse. I'm
Natalie Ford. Visit our website. It's 3news.com. You can find some more news on there. Thanks so much for watching and have a lovely evening.